Hi team, my name is Chris Ball. Now, for nearly 2 decades I've worked in finance. I've earned a master's degree, I'm a chartered accountant, and I'm a head of finance. Now, I've led teams across numerous industries, managed budgets into the hundreds of millions, but the most important lessons I've learned about money have come from not just managing businesses, but managing my own personal finances. Now, this video is going to be about your personal finance, and throughout I'm going to give you some frameworks and some ideas and some practical steps to help you manage your own money and the concepts that I've personally used to create meaningful change. So if you've ever felt stuck on a salary treadmill, trapped by debt or guilt about that kind of midnight purchase, this video is for you. Thank you. So the first part I'm going to talk about is just the foundation of money management. It's the planning. Planning is the number one most important financial habit. If you leave this video remembering only one point, make it this. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Creating a plan or a budget is essential. You need to understand what you need to spend money on and what you actually spend money on, because what gets measured gets managed. If you don't track your money, you'll never truly know where it's going or why. That why is key. The psychology of money runs deep. It's not just about numbers, it's about behavior. Financial stress is linked to increased anxiety, depression, and physical illness. And not just yourself, but your partner and your family. So step 1, tracking your spending, even if it's just for the past 90 days. Why? Because those months show your true habits. You may find you just change them just by observing them. Next, you've got to categorize them and categorize your spending into utilities, food, rent, transport, etc. Ask yourself for every purchase, was it a need or was it a want? Examples of these, getting a streaming service like Netflix is a want. 10 lattes a week, probably a want. Food is a need, but there is definitely a choice between different products and the quantity of products you might be buying. Be honest about it. This habit only works if you are honest. If you're not in control of your spending, you are not alone. I've got some facts here. 27% of Americans have zero emergency savings. 2 in 5 Brits, 40%, have less than £1,000. And actually a quarter have less than £200. Nearly half of low-income Americans, i.e. under $50,000, have no savings. In fact, 3/4, 73% of those earning under $50,000 to live paycheck to paycheck. 44% between $50,000 and $100,000 per year also live paycheck to paycheck. And even people over $100,000, a third of them live in the same cycle. It almost doesn't matter how much you earn. If you can't manage your money, then the same rules apply. Wherever you are now, it's not too late to change. Small steps matter, and they take time. Don't beat yourself up. Remember, action leads to motivation. Motivation does not lead action. Step 2, build your budget. The very mention of a budget can make people feel uneasy. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be an app, a spreadsheet, pen and paper, whatever helps you track against your spending and your plan. This is your financial feedback loop, and it keeps you accountable. Joint accountability. Now, everyone is different, and what works for one person might not work for another person. If you are single, then you are fully in control of your spending. If you are a couple, have joint responsibilities, then this is potentially where things might become a bit harder. Everyone is different, and what works for one person might not work for another person. And it's not to say that you can't find a happy medium on this topic. I have different views to my wife, but we have shared principles on many things around money. For example, how much we spend on our needs for our house, our food, etc. We have shared views on our wants, what we want to do with our life, traveling, spending time with our family. But everyone is different, and my recommendation is this. Set up your own current accounts. Have your pay come into this account. Have a joint account that is automatically debited for all your bills and all your direct debits. Agree a personal budget. A personal budget is an amount that no one except you can decide how to spend it. Simply take your net pay, less your personal budget, and transfer everything that's left into your joint account. Then feel free to spend your personal budget how you wish. For example, you can spend these on going out, gym, clothes, etc. This way, you can align on the big things and then not worry about who spends what on the other things. Personally, we have 2 credit cards, one each. One for shared purchases, which is paid off at the end of the month using a standard shared account, and a personal credit card for our own spending that is paid off with the personal allowance at the end of each month. This way, we can get the extra cash flow and any card benefits, but we always ensure that we have the cash to pay for the item readily available. Money is stressful, so making a plan with your partner removes that friction. Part 2. Okay, so you plan what you need in a month. Did you consider the future plans? Did you consider holiday costs, lump sums such as insurances, Christmas? In your plan, you need to know how much you will spend in a year, and you need to put aside a 12th of that each month. Do not pay on credit card for things like holidays or any large spikes, because these will derail the choices in those months, and they might even make you spend some of your savings that you've put aside. Consider long-term events. So for me, that's going on a special holiday every few years. We have a regular holiday account that we save up every month for our annual holidays, but this is a second holiday account that we put a smaller amount in every single month, so that when we get to that particular year, we've built up some extra funds to be able to afford to go on to that bigger holiday in the future. It's hard enough to save for holidays or any big events, let alone your dream holidays, so you have to plan ahead. Remember, if the inputs, your behaviours, are poor, your outputs, your results will follow. So you have to track your inputs and reflect on it, otherwise things won't change. So part 2, we're going to talk about 6 bad habits in priority order, and let's go a little bit deeper now. So the first bad habit is impulse buying and a lack of delayed gratification. So late night purchases, adding things to baskets, next morning guilt. We've all been there, but small purchases and small impulses add up over time, and for every time you do that, every yes to that impulse is a no to your other goals and your dreams. So what can you do about it? Well, the fix is to wait for 24 hours. Personally, I create a wish list of things that I'd like to buy, and if it's not on that list, I don't buy it. And I'll give myself a chance to review that later. I also tie bigger purchases to completed goals. Personally, I quite enjoyed delayed gratification. Ever since I was a child, I would save money. I didn't really know how to invest until my 30s, but I knew how to save. One of my earliest memories was saving for my own TV, choosing not to buy smaller things so I could get something bigger. And that was the mindset that stayed with me. I've met my goals, my financial goals, and I've built some wealth with consistent steps, mainly through saving and applying these habits. The second habit is keeping up with friends and various social status purchases. This is a big one. There's pressure from friends, from social media. It's this illusion of wealth. Sometimes we buy things just to impress people we don't perhaps even like. The fix for this is living below your means. Do it proudly. Suggest more affordable plans, work on internal validation and not external validation. The third habit is playing the social status game. Luxury goods quickly go from just being, from special to being normal. And then what? They own you. Learn to have money without spending it. Perhaps carry cash, don't use it. Practice stealth wealth. Reward yourself with milestones, not stuff. Habit 4, lifestyle inflation and expensive hobbies. Now, as income rises, so do costs. All of us are guilty of this, going out for more brunches, buying more materialistic things, going away more, etc. Learn to separate true joy from lifestyle upgrades. Cap your living costs. Audit your spend every quarter. How much joy did you really get from that? Habit 5, overusing credit cards. Spending for points or cashback is often just rationalising. The UK credit card is over 20%. Cashback rarely tops 1%, so only swipe if you can pay for cash right now. The fix for this is always pay off credit cards in full. Set rules. If you have a lot of credit card debt, build a fast-track repayment plan, prioritise paying high debt first. Habit 6, Paying extra through lack of planning. This could be buying an umbrella when it's raining and not planning ahead, getting an Uber or taxi instead of public transport, overdraft fees when you don't pay things off because you don't remember. These micro leaks drain your wealth. So weekly fix is do your weekly planning, check your weather, leave buffer time, review your balances, and keep a friction list of silly little things that you have spent perhaps in your 90-day review that you can eliminate going forward. Part 3, deeper mindsets and shifts. Now, these habits aren't just about numbers. They require mindset shifts and support. You may need motivation, and you may need to distance yourself from the people that don't get it. And you may need new habits, new routines, and new friends. I had to unlearn most of this myself, and I didn't realize some of those patterns until my 30s. Saving is important, but earning is too. You can only cut so far. To truly grow, increase your income, seek promotions, side hustles, invest in your skills. Income won't fix bad habits. Earn more, manage better. Being employed is still trading time for money. Promotions help, but they're still linear. To unlock something, you need to own a business, service, or a product. Another important point is you've got to invest in yourself, your health, and your network. 2 budgets should be unlimited: your education and your health. Join groups, learn, exercise, sleep well. It compounds over time. Let me share a quick story. I've worked in the service industry for many years, and one of the things I really enjoy doing is what's called Back to the Floor Day, where you go and work with the frontline staff. And a lady called Maria, who was a cleaner, and she had the courage to say how she could grow. She wasn't spending much time with her child. She was struggling to get the time off to do the studies, to get the right qualifications, and she really wanted to move to front of house. She had the courage to ask how she could grow, and with one introduction, I was able to get her that connection to the front of house management and get her moved to a different team and get a better pay and better hours. And that was just the power of asking. Now, people are always scared of asking, but most people like helping other people. So always ask, whether it's your mentor, a friend, a coach, anyone that you can that's ahead of where you want to go or you think has the relevant experience, but don't be afraid to ask. People like helping. Having an emergency buffer. Now, this is actually one of the most important points of this video. Most people are only 1 or 2 paychecks from disaster. That is not safety, that is a risk. But the thing is, when most people talk about emergency buffers, they talk about a 3 to 6 month of core costs. Now, that is what you should be aiming for, but that is quite a daunting prospect. If we look at the facts around how much people have in their savings account today, most, even developed world people, they do not have that. They have very little. Most people do not have the savings. So you've got to aim small, start off with small amounts, and aim for £1,000 or $1,000 or something small, because that would at least cover some basic emergencies that might happen. Don't be buying cars, don't invest, don't take risks until you have this buffer in place. Part 4, bonus habits to watch out for. Taking advice from the wrong people. Listening to your broke friends is like taking diet advice from someone who doesn't exercise. Get your guidance from mentors who've done it, coaches who teach it, or peers 1 or 2 years ahead. Build your wealth. Be polite, but ignore bad advice. Ask yourself what you want your situation to look like. Perhaps in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever your time frame might be. And use the power of this image to make you make the tough decisions. Personally, I've been doing this for the best part of 10 years now. For the last 5 years, I've almost been secretly building wealth, saving, investing, hitting some really good milestones now. But almost too shy to talk about it, too shy to tell people about my successes and my achievements in that. And I think because people are almost embarrassed or shy about it because it isn't the norm, because most people aren't doing it, because most people do live paycheck to paycheck. And actually for me, it was one of my core values around, financial freedom, making sure I had that buffer, making sure I could look after my family. And so for me, my core value gave me the strength to save regularly, put my bonuses aside, etc., until I had saved those sorts of, goal milestones, and give myself that buffer. And it was that buffer that allowed me to leave my job and really take these tough decisions, start a new business, start a new YouTube channel, try some new ventures, and really just have a bit of financial breathing to really enjoy life and try a different venture. So assuming you've got enough money to invest, one of the key problems people have is paying yourself last. Now, typically, we get paid, we pay our bills, we pay for our lifestyle, and maybe save what's left. But that never works. Instead, we need to save first, so you need to set up an auto transfer of maybe 10% or more to some form of investment, and just do it almost as a direct debit or some automatic investment transaction. And you kind of treat it like a bill. Treat it like it's non-negotiable. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was the first finance book that I read outside of accounting that changed how I thought about money. This idea of paying yourself first is one of the biggest takeaways, and it really helped kickstart my journey in terms of how I saved and how I prioritized my investments, my savings. People will argue that technically if you're an employee, you're still not paying yourself first. You need to own your own business to control your taxes and etc., etc. But I think for most people who are just employees, just making sure that you do that automatic transfer of investments and savings, assuming you have everything else in place, assuming you've got your savings buffer, assuming you've paid off your debt, then you should be looking at doing some sort of automatic transfer. Remember, none of this happens overnight. It starts with awareness, with one change, one decision. You are not alone. No one else will fix it for you. Start today. If this video helped you, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what change you'll start with, and I'll see you in the next one.